Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talk About Houses. I'm Todd.
I'm Juana.
Okay, so Adam Neumann, former WeWork founder, he just grabbed a bunch of money for a housing venture, which is called Flow.
Yes.
Tell them who Adam Neumann is, and then what is WeWork?
Okay, so Adam Neumann is a big time, actually, founder of WeWork, and WeWork is a billion-dollar company, like Todd said. And what WeWork does is they do office space on demand. So you might want to just have 50 square feet of office space, or 200 square feet of office space, or maybe you just want to have a space for maybe 3 days or 3 weeks, and that's just office space on demand, and he will go ahead and rent that out to you. Well,
Okay.
not him personally, but you get the picture.
So it's like executive office space, but very flexible.
Yes, very flexible.
Okay, well, he has entered the residential market.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to read some articles from this, and then we're going to talk, okay? What we're not going to talk about, we're going to talk about what potentially we think he's doing, because we have some ideas. We've talked about stuff like this over the years. We're not going to bash him personally because he has done some suspect things and is not well liked in Silicon Valley. And we're not going to talk about VC and that ecosystem and the fundraising, because if you want to see that, you can go on Twitter and type his name in, and you will. It's pretty brutal. Not only him, but the firm, Andreessen Horowitz. Okay. Andreessen Horowitz seems determined to keep the capital flowing to controversial WeWork founder Adam Neumann. The storied venture firm wrote its largest individual check ever at $350 million to Flow, Neumann's new residential real estate company focused on rentals. How does that work? A VC gives him money, $350 million. They get a piece of the company.
They do get a piece of the company. So this is a really interesting scenario, because I think it's different than things that we've all seen before. So what makes it different is that Neumann actually went out and he purchased 3,000 residential units. And now he's got this money from Andreessen Horowitz, and I'm not quite sure how he's going to be using the money, maybe to scale this, or I'm not really sure what the play is on this. And what's interesting is that, like Todd said, this is the biggest check that Andreessen Horowitz has ever written.
Yep.
And this is not a proven concept, and not an anything. So there's more that we don't know than that we do know about this whole venture.
The funding round values Flow at over $1 billion, and how that works is, let's say that they took 10% equity in the company, then that means that the company is valued at $3.5 billion and hasn't launched. It's possible. Whatever, so that's how valuation works in Silicon Valley, which makes it a unicorn before it commences operation. A unicorn's a $1 billion company, okay? And the reason they say that is because you never see them. They're really rare, right? They're going to launch next year. As Juana mentioned, their startup is set to operate over 3,000 apartment units that Neumann's purchased: Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Atlanta, and Nashville. Those are all key markets.
Right. And let's go over those markets again. Can you read them off again, please?
Yes. Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Atlanta, Nashville.
So now what's special about those markets is that those markets are markets that have seen a lot of institutional investors in the past few years. And so I need you guys to kind of focus on that a little bit, because these are markets that the institutional investors have deemed have a lot of upside potential. Remember, institutional investors invest with different criteria than you and I might. They're looking at markets that will grow over the next 5-10 years, that will have a certain rate of appreciation over the next 5-10 years. So that's why I wanted Todd to read those markets again, because I wanted you to remember which markets these are.
In a blog post, Mark Andreessen described Neumann as a visionary leader, credits him with revolutionizing real estate. Andreessen post did not address any financial terms of investment. Okay, there has not been a significant change in residential real estate in probably a century. It's been literally, you buy a house, you live in it, or you buy a house and you rent it.
Right. Well, right. So this is going to be a big change, I think, in the way residential real estate is being used. So now let's talk about what possibilities there are.
This is the fun part.
Yes. This is like maybe a wish list or a dream list or just a speculation list of how this these units and other units that will be acquired under the auspices of Flow might be used.
Okay.
So we want you to kind of come along with us on this journey, because we had some fun having this discussion.
Yeah. Okay. It's highly likely what he's not going to do is what Blackstone is doing and other firms, just buying them in, because you don't, a VC firm doesn't get excited and make their biggest investment ever based on a company that says, we're going to give you a 7 to 10% return every year. That's not what the VC, they can't do that. Mm-hmm. They need much bigger returns.
Right.
So this is going to be something on a scale of a significantly different business model that lets them extract more money from the tenant. So they're doing something that's going to get more money out of a tenant for the amount of space that they use. They're focusing on apartments. Mm-hmm. They're not buying houses. They're only buying apartment complexes, which is interesting because in what WeWork was doing was buying buildings, or not even buying buildings. They were like leasing spaces in buildings, mm-hmm. and then
subleasing.
And then subleasing them with this fractional mm-hmm. model. Tell them, how does a co-op work? Like in New York City, they have co-ops, right? How does that work?
Right. So,
and then how potentially, when you think of a co-op, how might this work with, and then mix it with timeshares, like how that whole thing works? Because that's sort of, to me, timeshare has a high profit rate. Mm-hmm. Co-op is an interesting business model. Could you put those together, explain them first, and then say how this could get fit together maybe in this type of thing he's building?
Okay. So in a co-op, everybody owns, if you will, shares in the building, right? So you don't necessarily own a particular unit, which, I mean, in a co-op building, you do own your unit, but you own it, and the rest of the owners have some ownership interest as well, and it takes approval in order to purchase in a co-op and that sort of thing. So think of it as maybe being a member of an LLC, right? So think of it like that. Yeah. All right. Timeshare, it's where you own a fraction. So, a lot of us know about timeshares. If you've ever gone to some tropical destination, you probably were approached a bit to go sit for a timeshare presentation, right? So timeshare, again, you own maybe a week or 2 weeks or some set period of time out of the year in this unit, and you have the right to either occupy the unit for that amount of time, or you can go ahead and rent out that unit through the management company and derive the funds from that. Now, if you kind of put these two together, what does that look like? So we kind of speculated that maybe what that looks like is I own a fractional ownership of this apartment, in the sense that, I can go occupy the apartment and I pay whatever it is that I need to pay, and I pay for the association and maintenance and that sort of thing. But maybe if I get transferred to another city, I can just box up my stuff and have either the building management or have my movers move my stuff to the next building in the next city. And because I own this ownership, I now can move into another unit in the other city, and if you will, my ownership kind of transfers with me. I think that's an interesting concept, and I think that's why Andreessen Horowitz put the money up. Not necessarily because this is going to make money, which I'm sure that they wanted to make money, but I think this is worth exploring as a concept to see if it could actually work. Because if it could actually work, then the way we do real estate today could forever change.
Okay, let's talk about that, because I think this is what this is. I think they strongly believe this, because $350 million is a lot for a VC firm that's never invested that money on it. Let's see if this works, right?
Right, but I think the concept is so evolutionary,
okay,
that it's worth exploring in a big way.
Okay, you get it. We're going to talk about 10 years from now. Mm-hmm. And let's say Flow owns units all over the country. Mm-hmm. It has market penetration to where literally everywhere you would want to go. Mm-hmm. Okay, you could go. If you want to go to Spokane, Washington, they have units there. You can just
I don't think that they would do that. honestly, I don't think they would do that. I think because of the markets that you read, these are markets that have very specific criteria.
But these are the starting markets. But we're going to talk about it in the future.
Okay.
Okay. They're everywhere.
Okay.
Now, it's like McDonald's. They're everywhere. Starbucks, right?
Okay.
Starbucks started in San Francisco
Right.
or Seattle, but then they went everywhere. They're literally everywhere.
Okay, so your idea is that they would become the Starbucks of apartments.
Okay. But here's the thing. This is why I think this is important and why this might be interesting, because I've thought about this a lot. If you are an owner in the whole entity and you own shares in it, and those shares give you the right to go to any other place and live there, do you effectively, now you're locked in? Like, you would be dumb if you're going to San Diego and to go rent a house or do something else if you've got your unit that's basically free or super cheap because you're an owner. It's like if you bought a house but you could swap the house with somebody else for free. It seems like that clearinghouse for that can be accomplished in this way. It also seems like you can get the price down because you don't need the whole, like, apartments to some extent for some of these tech workers are traditionally or functionally obsolescent.
Okay.
So you don't need the whole thing. Maybe you subdivide it into 2 small units with a shared bathroom or something, right? Like a Jack and Jill. Or you could do it because I think they're going to target a segment. And I think this is an interesting thing that, once you get people locked in, if they're unlikely to leave, you potentially have other ways to monetize the fact that you control where they live.
So 2 things. One, I think that they're going to standardize the apartments, meaning I can count that if I go from Atlanta to Nashville or to Miami or wherever I'm going, that the apartment will have a certain look, a certain feel.
Like WeWork.
Yes, like WeWork. So kind of to the Starbucks analogy, if doesn't matter which Starbucks I go to, I'm going to get the same kind of drink. It doesn't matter which apartment I go to, it's going to be very similar, right? So I think that's going to be part of it, so that I don't have to go apartment hunting when I move. I just know that I'm leaving here, I'm going there, and I'm going to get something very similar, so I don't have to even think about it. And then the second part, to your point, I think that there are other ancillary businesses that can be profitable through this.
Okay.
So maybe things like insurance.
Okay.
So maybe things like insurance, maybe things like furnishings or appliances or other things like that.
Okay.
Or maybe I don't have to even think about that because wherever I go, I'll have a certain standard of appliances, so I won't even have to deal with that. And maybe wherever I go, it's already furnished, and it's going to be, in a similar style. So that's going to be really interesting. And then they're going to have economies of scale because let's say, for example, that they do furnish all these units. So there'll be economies of scale as far as being able to have this big purchasing power for the appliances and for the furnishings and things like that.
Okay. There was something I read where I believe that Adam stated we were going to give people the ability to rent but get the benefits of owners.
Okay.
Which I think is interesting because there are some small startups trying to do this. It's a very difficult problem to tackle because you have to do it one house at a time, and you really can't. It's hard to do. It's hard to do, but you can do it if they're a co-op member, right? They own and in some ways it incentivizes them to pay more money. And this is the thing we talked about where if a hedge fund buys a house and owns it, and then 5 years later after renting, you decide you want to buy it or buy the rights to live there forever, that you can basically pay excess rent, and it's almost like seller financing. And I think that's an interesting model because the ROI on a normal rental, it's goes up by a multiple. It's significantly more because you're getting, you normally have a cost and then you have a small profit. So any more rent you can get maybe triples your profit. If you get $100 a month profit and you could raise your rent $200, you triple your profit. Right. But when you put somebody in a unit, you can charge them more money maybe, because they get more, maybe they get future ownership benefits if they sell their thing or whatever. That's potentially very interesting to people who are naturally renters that aren't buying. And then if you lock them in, how does that affect them? They don't flow into buying a house at some point in the future, which could be interesting.
Right.
Okay. So talk about this, Juana. Right now, the peers are only targeting existing apartments. What happens when they go into an apartment? When the leases are up, they move all the people out. They convert these things to their own brand or whatever, like WeWork, right? It's Flow. What happens to the people that were in those apartments? Because apartments tend to be the lower end of the rental spectrum.
Sometimes.
So what happens to those people? Like, where do they go next?
Right. So I don't expect that these apartments are going to be in the lower end of the rental spectrum, to be honest with you. I do expect that these will be more luxury type apartments. So I do expect that. But that they will have to relocate, and they will have to flow into other rental properties. But kind of to your point, so there are a lot of new rental places being built. San Diego's building some new ones. They're building one in a really nice one in Little Italy. They're building a whole bunch, and it's really interesting because I see a lot of these kind of being primed for something like Flow to take over the whole building and do something like that with it.
Okay. There's a company called NerdWallet. And what they do is you give them access to your bank statements. And then what they do is they evaluate you and tell you how you can save money. So they're happy. There's some trust. But how they make all their money is they go, oh, well, you have this credit card and you pay this much money, but if you switch to this credit card, you would save 2%. And of course, the credit card company, because you switch, they help you do it. They get a kickback. They make money from helping you make your life more efficient and save money, which is a sort of a hot thing. There's a bunch of companies that are helping people doing this.
Okay, so lots of companies do that. So kind of to the point that I was making before about Flow maybe helping you with renter's insurance and car insurance and things like that. When they refer you or you use their link to go sign up for this, they get money out of the deal.
Okay. This is my ultimate prediction on what I think that they're doing. I think they're trying to entice people to live there. It'll be a unique living experience. There'll be some features, social or some other thing, benefit to living there. You will get some other benefits, sort of like the longer you live there, the more right you have to like live there cheaper or longer or go to some other place. They're going to make that a benefit. They will try to monetize it in other ways, like you said, insurance and maybe
and then the other thing
a credit card.
Remember,
get the Flow credit card.
Right, but remember when you sign up to live there, they know everything about you, right? Because you have to apply for it. They run your credit. They do all these things. So now they have a very detailed profile about you.
Okay.
Everything about you. So now they're able to sell that information and target advertisers, target vendors in order to sell that information to them and make money doing so.
Let's speculate on one other thing that could be interesting. When you sign up for a credit card, and I'll use an example, the United Mileage Plus Explorer card.
Okay.
That is not a pitch for the United Mileage Plus Explorer card. Links down below. It's not a pitch, though. When you sign up for that card, you get benefits. You get some miles. You get boarding group 2. You get a board. You never have to worry about your bag getting gate checked. You always get your bag on. You get these benefits with it, right?
When you get free check bags.
Free check bags. You get a bunch of stuff. Okay. What if when you go to move into the place, they go, hey, it's $1,500 a month to have this nice, really small apartment. And you'll get all these ownership benefits and everything else. And you go, that's great. I love it. And you go, or you could do the $1,200 a month option. Well, what's a $1,200 a month option? Well, with the $1,200 option, you have to go sign up for this credit card. You have to, switch to this insurance company for your car or whatever. You have to do these other things. But you're already doing those things. All we're saying is you got to get rid of whoever you're using and you have to switch to our specific person that's going to do those things. So effectively, your property manager almost becomes your investment advisor, like tapping because ultimately there's only one way to get somebody really to do something, and that's you advertise to them and then you entice them with perks to get them to switch.
Right.
But what if you could entice people based on lower cost for housing? All you have to do is switch to some other stuff. Do you think that's appealing? Because ultimately, I think that's an interesting business model. And remember, this is the time of we're doing this video and we're speculating. Nobody knows exactly what this is, but I have a feeling there's some interesting stuff in here that's like this.
Right. I'm sure that there's interesting stuff like that. You know, the other thing is that they're going to look at businesses in the area and they're going to give them some kind of little promo code to use, and maybe you get some sort of spiff for going down to, Sam's Pizza Place. Maybe you get a couple bucks off at Sam's Pizza Place, but then Sam also has to kick a couple bucks over to Flo, which you think, well, that's not a big deal. But now when you're talking about this apartment building that has, maybe several hundred apartments, and all these people are using these businesses, and every time you use that business with their little loyalty card or whatever that they've got, or to identify you with, Flo gets money out of it. You're looking at all these income streams that didn't exist before, regarding housing.
There is some speculation. There is some crypto wallet option where you'll be able to download their crypto wallet. And once you're trading, once you're basically paying through their crypto wallet, that gives them the opportunity to sell you other things that you can pay for through a crypto wallet. And then they effectively become your bank. So that's what got me thinking about this idea of they're your bank, your investment advisor, they let you rent, and now they can effectively incentivize you to use their pool. Because look, this is huge in real estate, where Zillow tries to say, hey, go use this agent because Zillow makes money when you do that. Use this lender because Zillow makes money when you do that. But think about remember, you only buy a house every 7 to 10 years. You only get a loan every 7 to 10 years. What if every day when you're making your credit card payment, interest is that you're making, they're getting a piece of that? Or when you make your auto loan, or, anything,
Right. And to your point, like Zillow has even pivoted on that, because now if you've ever signed up for Zillow for anything, now they're marketing you other products. They're marketing you maybe West Elm Furniture. Maybe they're marketing you some kind of security company. Maybe they're marketing you all kinds of other things. Maybe an insurance company or whatever else. So they're making money every time you click through. So that they make money when you click through. They make money when you sign up for that service. So these companies have figured out ways to monetize things that were completely out of their wheelhouse previously.
I believe that, yes, they will create, because look, despite the fact that the guy made a ton of huge mistakes, big mistakes, and he seems to be odd, but people think Elon Musk is odd. People thought Steve Jobs was odd, and some of these really odd people are brilliant, and they're able to do amazing things. And WeWork's amazing. It's I think a $7 billion market cap company, and it's an amazing product. It was visionary. There's no question. I do think, though, there's a lot of room in residential real estate, especially with communal living, to not just, because look, this isn't just, hey, I just want to make it easier for people to live. And that's not what this is about. I think this is about making more money out of the people, but you have to incentivize them. You have to make it good for them. So cheaper rent, the ability to, like Juana said, you're living in Nashville and you have to go to Miami for 3 months. Your stuff gets boxed up. You go down to Miami, you get a unit. Nothing changes. You keep making your payment to the same company. Your life, you have continuity. You end up having to go to Austin. You end up in a place down there. And you don't want to leave the system now. Once you're in it, you can't leave it. It's like, it's like Logan's Run. You can't get out. They chase you down, and shoot you.
And and the more services they can wrap around this, the better off they are, as far as being able to keep you in the system, to Todd's point, and as far as being able to derive profit from other sources. So let me give you another example. The examples that we've been giving generally have to do with people who are single, or certainly not with people with families. But now kind of go one level up and say, okay, well, what if there are people with families now, so you've got mom and 2 kids, mom, dad, and 2 kids, whatever, dad and 3 kids, whatever. So now you've got the system. But now what if everybody's kind of accustomed to the way the building works? So you're taking your kids from here and you're taking them over here, and they've got, childcare in the building, and they've got a system to get all the kids to school maybe. They've got playground, whatever. So this can really be can grow into this whole massive thing where everybody's kind of entrenched in the system. So this can really be huge. The tentacles are really limitless.
Yeah, I really think that there's more to this than meets the eye. I think that, however, this was presented to Andreessen Horowitz, it got their attention. Mark Andreessen's not. He's obviously a risk taker, but this is a lot of money, and I think it was, they felt that it was a good risk. Meaning, I think everybody said, you know what, yeah, like this is. But sometimes these really big things are hard to take down. It's easy to make an app and get people to try to use it, because an app you can make for pretty cheap. You do some marketing, get people using it, dating apps, things like that. They eventually become big. Some things are really hard, even though they're patently obvious. They're really hard to get started, because you have to have the money to get the wheel to turn, right? That's the whole idea of a flywheel, right? Is once it gets going, it just builds up speed. And the flywheel for real estate is really hard to turn.
Right.
And it's really, look how long it took Zillow. Zillow's just a website. And look how long it took them to get that thing to go. It really did take a lot of time to get it took over a decade to get it to become a real powerhouse where it was really being used. Just a website. They didn't own any properties. They're just a data company. But now when you get into owning properties and managing them, that's a huge amount of money, because like we said, $2 trillion. But if you can capture just a small part of the population, get them in your places, and then monetize them, then I think that becomes a huge multiple over just the traditional model.
Right. Yeah, and kind of to my point, as far as getting families in there, imagine, putting in a Montessori school maybe in the building itself. Oh my goodness. That just makes it tremendous, because now these kids are growing up in this building, they're growing up in this system, and once they're grown, they will remain in the system as adults, because this is the environment that they grew up in. Like I said, the tentacles of this are pretty limitless.
Anyway, we're gonna keep an eye on this, and when we find out, we're gonna make another video.
Yes.
And then we're gonna list all the things we predicted, and then what we're also going to do is we're going to list all the things we were right about and all the things we were wrong about. And then what we want you to do is, in the comments, put if you made it to this far, because I know it's over 20 minutes. If you made it this far, put what you think, like what you think they're doing.
Right.
Like, what do you think they're going to do with this?
And what opportunities do you see in this? Because we see so many opportunities, but I'm sure that there are thousands of things we haven't even thought of. So we want to know. Put on your creative hat and be creative and tell us, what you think. And
if we come up with a better idea, then we'll go to Andreessen Horowitz and see if they'll give us $500 million.
There you go.
And we're going to do it better than the other guy.
There you go.
All right.
So thank you for making it to the end of the video. We appreciate it. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell, like the video, share the video, and we love your comments. Bring them on.
All right.
See you on the next video.
Bye.
Bye.